Thank you so much, Faraz Khan, for coming on Wellness Your Way. I'm very excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be on, Megan. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, I've read your impressive formal bio to our audience, but I'd love to hear just in your words about who you are and how you wound up here.
Totally. So I went to school to get an engineering degree. And that's when my hair loss started, which I'll get back to. But that's the path I followed for a long time. And then I got into management consulting like you. And then a few years ago, I decided to get into health and wellness and natural living and longevity, which is going to be a huge field. And anti-aging, of course, is part of that. So I am super excited and more passionate than ever about my career. But my journey started really in college. I was a college athlete, played soccer. And in my sophomore year, I was, washing my hair in the shower and I looked down at my hands. They were full of my beautiful hair. And I'm going, what the heck is going on? This is not fair. And my stress level went from a 3 to an 11 right in that moment. And I'll never forget that moment in my life. But I started thinking about how did I get hair thinning? Like, why would this happen to me so early? And I recognized that my father's side of my family had great hair genetics, but my mom's side had poor hair genetics. And three of my mom's brothers were bald. And my mom was even complaining about hair thinning. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is over. Thank you, mom, for giving me this. And so my confidence as a young college athlete, I wanted a confidence because I could go talk to women and have a good time.
Yeah.
But that unfortunately the universe was tapping me and saying, no, you're not ready for that yet. So I struggled with that, and I tried so many different things. I tried biotin, I tried supplements, I tried holistic oils. Ayurvedic practitioners I went to, they crafted all these oils for me. I even put in egg yolks in my hair and yogurt in my hair, which is a really bad idea because it makes your whole apartment stink for days. And yeah, don't do that if you're listening. And then my grandma said, if you shave your head, uh, it comes back thicker and fuller hair. And I said, okay. I was so desperate that I started shaving my hair every 6 to 8 months because I thought that would fix it. Well, that doesn't fix it either. Shaving does nothing to prevent your hair thinning, unfortunately. And so this continued over the years, and I did grad school in New York, and that was very stressful. So that also helped increase my hair thinning. And finally, at the age of 25, I was so desperate because I was waking up in the morning with like a bunch of hairs on my pillow and seeing them in my hands in the shower that I'd stopped washing my hair as much. So I went to a hair transplant surgeon in Denver, Colorado, and I said, "Please save me, save my hair." And she goes, very smart surgeon. She goes, "Well, you're not completely ready because you don't have bald areas anywhere yet. So we got to wait a little while. But in the meantime, do you want a pharmaceutical?" And I said, "What are the side effects?" And she goes, loss in libido, problems with sperm motility, inability to maintain an erection. I'm going, whoa, no, hell no. I'm 25. I don't need this. So I went home, and 6 days later, after finding tons of hair on my pillow every night, I called her and I said, "You know what? I'm in. I've done the research. I'm willing to take the risk." And luckily, it didn't affect me negatively, but I did that for 10 years. And then when I got into anti-aging and longevity, and I said, "You know what? I wonder if there's a way for me to do this naturally," because my mother had also been complaining about her hair thinning. And I said, "Is there a way to find natural products that we can use that my mother could use as well?" And so I started traveling the world, went to hair loss conferences, interviewed a ton of hair transplant surgeons on my podcast. I talked to holistic practitioners, I talked to stem cell experts, regenerative experts. And what I realized, the biggest takeaway I had, this was my aha moment, is that yes, women that are listening might have, if you've experienced hair thinning, you might have tried a supplement or a serum in the past, but it may have worked or it may not have worked. And the biggest realization I had was that if you combine multiple products together to stimulate hair follicles in multiple ways, you have way better chances of stopping your thinning and getting regrowth, which everybody wants, as opposed to just trying a supplement for 2 or 3 months and then saying, well, it didn't really work. I'm tired. I don't want to try anymore because I'm so skeptical now. So that was the big realization. And based on that realization, we spent 2 years crafting together these fantastic products that we've put together for hair wellness, for getting thicker and fuller hair, specifically geared towards women because they're completely natural.
That is such an incredible story. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I'm so curious about the combination or the concept behind the combination, because I've always said to people with biotin, for example, which you mentioned, there are some people, I would say 10% of my clients, who biotin really works for. They really feel a difference with biotin. And then 90% of people feel absolutely nothing. Same thing with collagen. I think the percentage is higher there, but some people feel a real difference with collagen and some don't. And we could go down the line of nutraceuticals that different things work for different people. So is your combination approach a way to combat that trial and error and just shotgun everything to make sure we find what works for you? And or is it that all these nutrients are actually working in conjunction with each other and the 1+1 is greater than 2 effect?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question, Megan. What I've realized is that specifically for women, hair loss seems to be multifactorial. Now, the number one reason for hair thinning in women is due to hormonal imbalances, especially after the age of 35. Your estrogen and progesterone levels start to decline slowly at first and then rapidly later on as you approach menopause and get, beyond menopause. And so that's a consideration. And what happens in this imbalance is that the testosterone doesn't fall as quickly. And so it leads to a relative imbalance with testosterone while estrogen and progesterone are falling. So this testosterone that then converts to dihydrotestosterone, which is called DHT normally in the hair loss community. And DHT is what goes into your hair follicles and it attaches to all the androgen receptors in your hair follicles. And it starts to shrink and starve the hair follicles. So when women talk about hair thinning, it's that the diameter of the hair shaft is getting thinner and thinner because the DHT is actually starving the hair follicle. So this happens over many years, but over time, what you'll see is your hair gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and then it gets so thin that it can't actually pop out anymore. And so for men, they lose all of their hair. Typically, they can go bald completely because all the follicles become dormant. And this is the same reason, the DHT reason, the hormonal reason, is the same for men and women. So that's the number one thing. The other thing we've got to consider is that for women, there seem to be other aspects that also play a part in hair thinning. Stress is a major one. We can talk about major stressors like a surgery or getting the virus that we've had, or we can talk about a little bit less psychological stressors such as like a breakup, divorce, leaving your job, getting laid off, or even moving to a different city. These are all like stressors that can cause a big dump in your hair cycle. So what this does is when you have a major stressor, your body says, oh my God, I am under duress. I need to do something. We might die. And so it pulls a lot of the resources towards the core vital organs. And so hair, not that important for survival. So it kind of sacrifices the hair. And what happens is that a lot of these hairs go from the growth phase to the resting and shedding phase. And so I've had friends that have had the virus, and 2 months after getting the virus, they were losing clumps of hair. Like 30 to 40% of their entire hair was gone in a few weeks, and they were freaking out. They thought that they would have to shave their head off. So that's what happens when there's a lot of stress. Then there's a smaller level of stress, which is just ongoing stress. You've probably experienced this with your management consultant background. I certainly did. And so we're working all the time, and that ongoing stress also adds up and starts to shorten your hair growth cycle. So normally your hair would grow from 3 to 7 years and then fall out naturally. But due to this stress, ongoing stress, it can shorten that cycle towards the 3-year mark or even lesser, which means that now you have to, the hair follicle has to come back and it has to rest, and more of your hair in the resting phase at that point, which can cause the impression that you're also thinning. And there's more reasons which we can get into, but I'll pause there.
That was incredible. So if I'm hearing correctly, I heard 3 primary reasons. One is that testosterone converts into DHT, and this DHT molecule binds to the hair follicles basically and squeezes out the hair follicles, shortens or narrows that shaft. And that's why men tend to go fully bald more often than women do, because they have more testosterone to start out with. Is that kind of a summary of the first one? Then I'll move on to the second two.
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
Okay, great. Then we have the traumatic stress. So as you were saying, the virus or things like that, I was actually recalling, I didn't think of this until I just interviewed, or I am interviewing you. In high school, I was rollerblading and I was rollerblading with a friend who was kind of doing a dumb prank, and I fell on my head. And I immediately grabbed up to my head where I fell, and there was a clump of hair in my head. And so I got home and I went to the ER, whatever, and they said, pin up your hair for 2 days. Like, don't touch your hair, keep it all in there. I don't know if that was misguided advice or not, but the important part is when we have a trauma, whether it's the virus or falling on your head or something like that, your body kind of panics, and it is possible that you lose significant amounts of hair right in that moment. Is that true for number 2?
Yeah, typically the hair loss occurs 2 to 3 months after the big traumatic event. And so a lot of people can't correlate the two because they said, well, I got the virus 2 months ago. Why is my hair falling out now? So, but you're
Really
right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to clarify, so I didn't confuse the audience, in my rollerblading case, I probably just scraped hair off, and that was misguided advice to pin it up for 2 days. But it is possible that if you're losing a lot of hair all at once, instantly, look back 2 to 3 months and see if there was a traumatic event or experience or virus then. And then the third one is this ongoing chronic stress. And what you said about the body reprioritizing resources will be very familiar to the audience, because we talk about this all the time, how maybe the quality of your skin goes down, or your digestion gets slower or off, or your thyroid might start acting funky, or your sex hormones go off, or something like that. Your body is just trying to keep your heart beating and keep your brain functioning, keep you alive. And hair, for better or for worse, is not an essential function. So it's going to slough that off the list if it doesn't have enough resources to keep everything going. Kind of correct?
Totally. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, amazing. I love this. Now the audience is thinking, okay, I'm in one of these buckets. I can definitely understand or begin to understand what's happening. And what you're saying here is that this is very common in women. From my experience with my clients, every woman who tells me she's dealing with hair loss says it under the radar, is quite embarrassed or feels shame or something like that. Versus for men, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting older, I'm losing my hair. Why do you think it is this way?
Men, the amount of stress that I went through when I was losing my hair was astronomically high. I don't want to say it's the same for women or any more or any less, but I've talked to other men that have said to me that the worst pain they've experienced in their life quietly was them losing their hair. Because women, of course, we know that hair is an identity, right? It's a piece of the identity for women, for men as well, but it's kind of acceptable that men can lose their hair. We see it all around us, and so it's normalized, and you can blame aging or you can blame your hormones, and if you don't take care of it, then there's very little you can do, right? So it is what it is. The other thing that happens is when men get a little bit older and they have a family and they have kids and they have to provide and they're working hard, it becomes less of a priority for them, the vanity piece, right? But in our society, women are valued for their hair. Since the dawn of time, women are valued for their hair. And so it's also, that's one piece. And the other piece is that we don't see women walking around with no hair. And so it's a thing. It's also a cultural thing right now, where the better your hair, the better the world perceives you. So those are two things. And of course, probably the pain of losing hair for women, it may be more. I haven't experienced it myself, but I know that my pain was crazy.
Well, I think even though the vast majority of our audience is women, if there are men out there, you can find comfort in the fact that Faraz also experienced this pain when losing your hair, and know that for everyone, if you're stressed about this, one, you're not alone, but two, the stress is probably making it worse, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some solutions. And you have a whole lot of solutions in your company that I want to dive into. We'll also talk about how some medications are less effective than promised. But because we are a nutrition and wellness focused podcast, I want to first start with anything not related to medication that we could do. Like, is there a lifestyle practice or is there some nutrition advice that you could give for people to maintain the health of their hair?
Totally, absolutely. And if I may, Megan, I want to say one thing about nutrition that you brought up, is that there's 5 key nutrients that are very important for hair health and hair growth. And if you don't have enough of these, then we see that there's a lot of hair fall related to these. And the big 5, none of them is biotin, by the way, but the big 5 are iron, zinc, vitamin B12, folate, and vitamin D. So those are the 5 big ones. So if you can be in the middle of the range for all 5 of those, it's highly recommended. A lot of people are low in vitamin D in North America and in the West in general. So that's something to consider. So we've combined all of these into our line of products. And so we can talk about what those products are. So we've got in the research that I had done, and what I realized is that because there's so many pathways, especially for women, or reasons for hair loss, if we can have an approach that targets all or most of them, then we can have a really good result for women. So the first thing that we do is we've got a supplement that, again, goes after 6 pathways by itself, but it's something you take. It takes 15 seconds and it gives you all the nutrition you need. It also has superfoods to balance the DHT hormones, which, as I said, is the #1 cause of thinning. Then it's got the stress components. We've got ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen. We've also got other things to kind of manage and balance your stress, so the stress levels come down, because when you start experiencing hair thinning, like you said, the stress goes up. So we want to make sure the stress comes down normally and naturally. And then the third thing is the nutrition. So we talked about the big 5. We've got all of the big 5 in there. We also have circulation support. We have antioxidant support. We support inflammation. So it's a really complete supplement by itself, but that's step 1. So this takes you about 10 to 15 seconds. We recommend taking 2 pills in the morning with meals and then 2 in the evening with meals. Then we get on to the hair serum. Now, everybody or most people experience hair thinning at the scalp. And so what can we do topically on the scalp locally to get the benefits of everything we just talked about that we're taking with the supplement? So the serum then also is targeted towards balancing the DHT hormones in the scalp. So we've got multiple ingredients that help reduce that conversion to DHT and fight it off. We've got ingredients that, again, increase circulation, because more circulation to the scalp brings oxygen, brings nutrients, brings all these vitamins and minerals that are so important for thick and healthy hair. It also has antioxidants and anti-inflammatories, so to make your scalp younger and increase the collagen in the scalp and the elastin, so it can regrow thicker, fuller hair. Then the third aspect is the one that women ask me questions about a lot, because this has to do with brushing your hair. And typically when you're experiencing hair thinning, and I was in the same boat, is you don't want to touch your hair. I would wash my hair every 3 or 4 days, because every time I touched it, more fell out. But unfortunately, that was the wrong advice or the wrong gut instinct that I had. And the more you touch and massage and stimulate your hair follicles, the more circulation is going to come in. And what we talked about circulation is that it's going to bring in the oxygen, nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that are so important. So we recommend brushing your scalp, your hair also maybe, but especially your scalp, 100 to 200 times every single day, vigorously. Wow. Like, just get after it.
Wow, 200. That's a lot.
200. So grandma was partially right. Grandma said to brush your hair 100 times a day. We're saying, let's go above and beyond. Let's make grandma real proud.
That's amazing.
So that's number 3.
So actually get the brush into your scalp to stimulate the circulation, or have a partner give you a head massage or something like that, but get that blood flow going as much as possible. I think that's really interesting. I'd love to backtrack a little first through the supplement that you referred to. Honestly, it sounds like a really good general health supplement with anti-inflammatory agents, some of those really important nutrients. Ashwagandha is one of my favorite adaptogens. So I'm about to just get everyone on this. But I'm curious about a couple things. Number one, you said you want middle of the range for these nutrients. And I'm curious why you didn't say middle to top. And I'll give you an example for vitamin D.
Mhm.
I'm usually recommending people be in the top half of the range for hormonal health, immune health, things like that. So is there a risk of some of these nutrients of being a little above average?
Yeah, some of them there is. Not for vitamin D. Vitamin D, the more we're learning, the more we're finding that it's really, really good for your health, even higher levels. So I'm a proponent of getting more vitamin D if you can.
Good.
There are a few ingredients in the supplement that we've been very careful with. So vitamin A, too little of vitamin A causes hair thinning, but too much overdose of vitamin A can also cause hair thinning. Same goes with selenium. Too little can cause hair thinning, too much can cause hair thinning. So we want to be careful to be in the middle of the range and give you enough so that you can get what you need without getting you overboard or having too much in your body. So we've tried to strike a very, very interesting balance with this. But the goal is to give you a lot of the goodness. Like you said, it's good for overall body health. It goes after a lot of the aging pathways as well, the inflammation, the antioxidants, and it helps support with a lot of B vitamins, your stress, ashwagandha. It helps support a lot of the other pathways that can help with improving your hair. Now, the other things you've mentioned, and I'm sure you talk about, what else can you do? You can take care of your health. Don't eat very high carb meals. Get good night's sleep. That's very, very important. Manage your stress yourself, like take a walk, in a garden or a park, or, just have some meditation practice or some mindfulness practice. So those are very important as well. But what we've done is we've gone after so many pathways with all of these ingredients, is that we are very, very confident that it helps really regrow a lot of hair. The other thing I didn't mention is that we've got a derma roller, which
Oh,
a lot of women might be familiar with it on the face. And I've used derma rolling on my face over the years many, many times because it helps rejuvenate the collagen, the elastin, gives you a younger skin. In fact, when people use derma rolling on scars that they've had in the past on their body, those scars start regrowing hair after 10 years of not having hair on that spot,
wow.
which is so interesting. And multiple studies have found by just using derma rolling and nothing else to combat your hair thinning, people have gotten 15% new hair regrowth just by derma rolling. So that's a really
Wow.
powerful addition that we've added to the protocol. So we've got the 4 products, the supplement on the inside, the serum on the outside topically, the hairbrush, which is very important, and the derma roller, which helps not only, it causes these tiny micro injuries, which activate growth factors, which activate stem cells, which help remodel the collagen and the elastin in your scalp so that you get a younger scalp, which can grow hair even better.
Amazing. So with the derma roller, I'm imagining, but I don't know, that's why I'm asking, that you don't do 200 times every day. How
No, no.
frequently would you do the derma roller?
Yeah, so our derma roller is not too deep, so it's not going to hurt. There's going to be
Okay.
no blood, no specks of blood falling down, running down your face. Don't worry, you won't even see any specks on your scalp. So what we recommend when you're starting off is to do it twice a week for the first 12 weeks, and then you can go to once a week after that and on for the next 12 weeks, and then you can do it as needed, maybe once a month or so. So you don't have to do it forever, but in the beginning stages, 3 to 6 months, it's super important to kind of get that locked in so that you can have the massive benefits of it. The other thing the derma roller does is it opens up your channels in your scalp while you're doing it. So apply the serum right after you open the channel, so the serum gets even better penetration through
Great.
your skin. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I sometimes hear questions from the audience, and I am hearing two right
Okay.
now. One is, if
Sure.
I take this supplement, will this cause me to grow hair in other places, like on my face, that I haven't had hair before? Will this cause me to be a gorilla all of a sudden if I'm a woman?
This is a great question. So what happens is, especially for men, because men are very concerned with beard growth, this is the $1 million question that nobody's been able to answer so far. High DHT levels will cause you to grow hair on your face, but they will cause you to lose hair on your scalp, which is so
Mm,
interesting because they're right next to each other.
yeah.
And so what we are doing is we're reducing, normally balancing the DHT, naturally balancing them so that the DHT levels go down, which means with lower DHT levels, you'll have better hair and you're not going to have the facial hair that people are so scared of. So our products do not promote or encourage growth of facial hair.
Amazing. That's very exciting for people. And if this is proprietary, just say pass. But I'm curious, what are the ingredient, or what is an ingredient that you're using in the supplement to reduce DHT?
Totally. No, this is not proprietary. We're listed. This is listed on our supplement facts panel, so I'm happy to answer this. There's 3 key ingredients we're going after. Other companies might just use one, but we're going really deep into this area because we believe it's very important. So saw palmetto is a very important nutrient that is a superfood that reduces the conversion of testosterone to DHT. In multiple studies, they have found that saw palmetto not only stopped the conversion, but also regrew hair on the scalp for subjects. So that's number 1. The number 2 ingredient is pumpkin seed extract. And this has also been proven in scientific studies to have really good benefits when it comes to hair growth and combating the hormonal aspects of the DHT. And the third one is nettle leaf extract. And this one also, again, has great data on reducing the DHT conversion. So we're going after this very important pathway in multiple ways to reduce that conversion as much as possible, so you have the best chance your hair can breathe and it can actually grow normally.
That's amazing. I did not know that about pumpkin seed extract or nettle leaf. I have used saw palmetto several times in male clients who have high DHT just from lab work. And I wasn't even thinking about hair in that case, but I find that to be really effective. So I love that you're using the blend of those 3 ingredients. That's great. That was just my own question. But the other question that I heard from the audience is, what does my thyroid have to do with hair loss? And if I have hair loss because of a thyroid issue like Hashimoto's or something like that, is that completely off the table for your products, or could your products still help?
That's a great question. We see, or at least I hear through talking to women and or their health practitioners, is that the hypothyroidism in particular is increasing in women.
Yes.
And more so in women than in men. And
yes.
I'm sure you're aware of this. And so what we do is we've got 3 ingredients in our supplement that help support the health of the thyroid gland. But we don't deal with Hashimoto's directly, because that is something reserved for thyroid practitioners to help with. So we've got selenium, we've got iron, and we've got iodine that help with normal, healthy functioning of the thyroid gland. Now, when it comes to the only 2 tests, so I'll say this, the 2 tests that we recommend when we suspect that women are having hair loss because of some other conditions, one is hypothyroidism or thyroid disorders in particular. And you can tell if somebody has hypothyroidism if you ask them a few questions. Well, do you have, are you gaining weight? Are you lethargic in the evenings? Or, when you sit down, are you lethargic? Are you
temperature dysregulation?
So, yeah, temperature dysregulation. Eyebrows, you might be losing hair on the eyebrows, and especially thinning on the scalp. So there's multiple things that are a giveaway when you speak to somebody for that they may be having hypothyroidism. But when we do suspect this, we ask our women to go get a full thyroid panel with antibodies.
Yes.
That's a great test, and it tells you. So we get the T3, RT3, and T4, and that gives us a good indication, the antibodies as well, of what's going on. And if we suspect that they have Hashimoto's or some other thyroid condition, we then ask them to work with a thyroid practitioner that can help them resolve that condition first, because that is always going to be putting the brakes on your hair growth. And so it's very, very important, if you have thyroid conditions, to handle those first. And sometimes we wait, sometimes women start us at the same time with the thyroid stuff, but that's a great question. And the other test that we do for women specifically is the iron panel. And that's something we find, especially for women that are younger in the reproductive years, that they're low on iron because, they're every month they've got a cycle, so they lose blood. But also women over 35, women over 40, what happens is they're not eating enough red meats, or they're not eating enough iron in their diet. And so, or they're vegan. And what happens then is that they're at risk for having low iron, and especially vegans. This, Megan, there's B12, there's folate, and there's iron. There's risk of deficiencies in all 3, and all 3 are super important for hair thinning. And so those are the things that we kind of look out for in terms of tests. And that's what we recommend.
That's great. So I'll highlight the full thyroid panel, not just the TSH, which doesn't tell the whole story. And you also said the full anemia panel, full iron panel, not just iron. We need ferritin. We need total iron binding capacity. We need the full picture. Yes?
Totally. Absolutely.
Okay.
You got it. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So let's talk about why some of the other products on the market, whether they are pharmaceuticals or anything else that people might have tried, why will those not work as effectively or as frequently as your products do work?
Yeah, totally. So the approach that we came up with, and that's what I recommend, if you go with us, then get the 3-month bundle, because that'll give you everything that you need to regrow your hair, or most of what you need to regrow your hair. What happens is that women or men will try a supplement or a serum or something else, or a red light cap, and they say, well, it didn't work. And there's multiple reasons for it. One, maybe the company that's making it is not thorough enough. That's certainly a reason, because they don't eat and breathe hair loss all day long, every single day, every month of the year. Or two, it's just not hitting the right. So let's say you have a particular reason for hair loss. It's not hitting that the right way. The key, especially for women's hair loss, is you got to address all the reasons for hair thinning, and then your hair can bloom. You can have really good hair in your 40s, 50s, and beyond, but you've got to hit all the reasons for hair thinning. And so what these products do is they miss that. And that's the difference we've made with our products, is we're going after so many pathways for each product, but combining 4 products to stimulate hair follicles in a different way through like mechanical stress, but also internally and externally, topically. So we're going after this in a lot of ways. So that's the differentiator between other products. Now, in terms of pharmaceuticals, you asked me the question. There's 2 big pharmaceuticals that are available. Number one is finasteride, which I took for many years, and I decided to get off of it because I didn't want to be using pharmaceuticals. That's just my general philosophy in life, and I think you share that as well, Megan.
Yes.
Right, and so also finasteride is contraindicated in women that are still of reproductive age, because it can harm a male baby's fetus, because it's reducing DHT, right? So you have to be very careful with using finasteride, especially with women. So that's number one. The other one that's used a lot is Rogaine or minoxidil. And certainly some people get results with Rogaine. The way Rogaine works is it improves your circulation to the hair follicles, and that brings more blood flow and nutrients like we're talking about. But for a lot of people, what they notice is that when they use the Rogaine, there's 2 problems with it. Number one, you need an enzyme to convert the Rogaine or the minoxidil into an active form. And some people lack enough of the enzyme on their scalp, so they're not able to fully take advantage of the Rogaine or the minoxidil. The number 2 thing that happens is there's compliance problems, because with Rogaine or minoxidil, it makes your hair really sticky and icky. And so we know, I know that in talking with lots of women, that women don't like to wash their hair every single day. Maybe a couple times a week seems to be the norm. And so if you have sticky, icky hair every morning when you wake up, you're not going to be using the product for very long. Or you could say, well, I have good hair day today. I don't want to mess it up. I want to keep this train going for a couple of days or 2 or 3 days. And so that is why the serum that we created is very lightweight. It dries off completely overnight. So if you apply it in the evening, you brush your hair 200 times, then you apply it in the evening, it dries off by the morning. So you can style your hair normally without needing to wash it off.
Amazing. This is great. And thank you for the explanation on why people might not have experienced results with other products. I feel like I'm going to cross all my fingers and knock on wood and do all the things I'm supposed to do. But I will say I am very lucky to have not yet experienced significant hair loss. But I'm thinking, for me and for other people like me listening, I know there's benefit of stress management for sure. I'll call myself out. I know there's benefit of maintaining a moderate level of all those nutrients. So the supplement seems very helpful. I am wondering if there's benefit, like prevention or hair health benefit, of using the serum, of using the micro roller, the derma roller, maybe even brushing 200 times a day. Like, can this stuff help not have that problem in the future?
Oh my gosh, you just hit the nail on the head. So I'm in the world of anti-aging and longevity, and we are talking all day about how do you reverse aging, how do you get to a younger state? How do you have more energy in your cells? How do you have better hair, skin, and nails? And the best way we've learned so far, especially when it comes to aging, is it's way, way easier to slow down aging than to reverse it. And so
Yes.
same thing goes with hair. If you've got great hair and you want it to stay that way, then I would recommend using something that is hair healthy. Brushing 200 times a day, it costs you nothing. It's free. I would highly recommend it. Using a microneedling roller to do that, once every 2 or 3 weeks, that's perfect. That's easy. It's cheap. Like, I would highly recommend it. Using a supplement that is super easy to take, only takes 15 seconds, that helps give you all the nutrients that you need to maintain hair health. It's worth it. When you have something, it's harder to like worry about it, right? When you lose it,
Yes.
you go, oh my gosh, I wish I could get back the hair that I had in my 20s. Or a lot of women talk to me and say, I was known for my hair and now I've lost so much. It feels really, really bad. So certainly the point that you made is awesome. It works in anti-aging, it works in longevity, and it especially also works with hair.
Amazing. So great. Now, I skipped over it the first time you said it, but you said it again. So I have to ask, when you say it takes 15 seconds, what are we talking about here? Like you have to leave it in your mouth for
The
15
supplement.
seconds?
No. You just go pick up the bottle, open it up, take 2 capsules, pop it in your mouth, and drink some
Okay.
water.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought there might be some complicated process or something like that, but
No.
you're just saying it's easy as popping a pill. Got
It's
it.
super easy. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Very
And
good.
so what if you use the full system? Here's what I'm going to ask of you. If you decide to go with us and you're listening, then what I'm going to ask of you is to get the 3-month bundle, because that gives you a lot of the tools to stimulate the follicles in multiple ways with really good ingredients, and so you'll get the best results. Now you're gonna have to spend 2 to 3 minutes per day on your hair, but the payoff is that you'll have better hair than you thought was possible for you right now.
Yes. I am one of the lowest maintenance women that I know. And even I could easily spend 2 to 3 extra minutes on my hair per day if it's going to keep it on my head. So that is a very small request. I think everyone thinks that's very reasonable. So thank you for making it accessible. That's great. I know listeners want to learn so much more from you and wish this episode was like 4 hours, but it is not. So I would love for you to leave listeners with anything that we didn't cover yet that you want to let them know, and then also tell them how they can get their hands on your product.
Totally. One thing I forgot to mention, Megan, is that we ask folks, women especially, to get the 3-month bundle so they can get the maximum benefits of it. And we offer a 4-month money back guarantee. So that you
Wow.
can see for yourself. Yeah, you can see for yourself if you're getting the results. We really, really stand by our products. Other companies in the space give you a 30-day guarantee, and that's not fair because it takes 2 to 3 months to see hair growth. That's how long the hair cycle takes. And so that is why we want to make it accessible. We want to make it so that everybody's getting results. Yeah, does everybody get results with their product? No. We get about a 3 to 4% return rate, and some of it is because people are not using it. And they're like, oh, I just didn't use it. I didn't have the time or whatnot. So it's the efficacy is very high and you've got nothing to lose. So I want to make it risk-free for you to try it. The other thing we're doing is we're about to launch in 2 weeks products to delay and reverse gray hair. We noticed that there were a lot of questions coming in from men and from women about how, women are getting their hair dyed or colored every couple of months. And we've got to be careful with the external chemicals that you're bringing into your hair as well, because that will weaken your hair, that will cause more hair loss. So you want to be very careful with using unnatural products on your hair, bleach,
Yes.
dyes, coloring, especially as the hair is getting weaker and aging over time. So that's something that we've taken into consideration, and we're launching in 2 weeks products to delay and reverse gray hair. Again, going to the pathways will take too long, but I just want to throw that out there. And if you're interested in trying any of our products, then please go to fullyvital.com to get the bundle, to try out any other product. And of course, you have a 120-day money-back guarantee. Also, I have my own podcast at Anti-Aging Hacks. And that's where we talk about ways to kind of reverse the aging process and how you can look younger and be sexier for much, much longer.
Oh, that's so amazing. So we will put all the links in the website to the company where you can get the 3-month bundle. We've heard that's very important, and 4-month money back guarantee. That's incredible. A very generous offer. So we'll link to that. Also, this will come out more than 2 weeks in the future. So when you're listening to this, audience, the gray hair reversal product is already live, which is very exciting. And then we'll also link to the podcast. I am going to become an avid listener because I can tell you're into this space and you're very knowledgeable and you're excited and you're on the forefront of research that is really going to change the way we age. So thank you very much for coming on Wellness Your Way. I appreciate all the insight that you gave us today.
Thank you very much, Megan. I appreciate you